Malaysia has pledged to cut 15 to 30 million tonnes of carbon emissions from its peak by 2035. But its success in meeting the goal of its latest climate action plan depends in part on whether it can get foreign funding and support. CNA's Rachel Teng spoke with the Secretary General of Malaysia's Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability Ministry at COP30 in Belem.
Malaysia just released its NDC 3.0. Do you think that Malaysia is ambitious enough?
This NDC 3.0 is a clear departure from the previous NDC 2.0, where we focus very much on the GDP. No, we move to absolute target, is all right. Yes, it's ambitious to some extent, I would say. And we see that we could even have a quite absolute target to reduce between 15 to 30 metric ton of CO2 equivalent. I think if you were to look further, one of the key areas that we ought to focus on the water supply and security. Currently, Malaysians uses so much water. Average, I would say, more than 200 litres a day per capita. Whereas if you go to the global level, between 140 and 150, Singapore at 140. If you use more water, you need to build more treatment plant, you need to flatten more hills, you need to cut more trees. These are the factors that contribute to the GHG emission.
What kind of international support is Malaysia calling for to hit its conditional emissions reduction targets?
If you were to move up the ladder or go for green economy, you need technology. Right? And technology is not cheap. CCUS, carbon capture storage, is not cheap, right? And country like Malaysia, we are depending so much on foreign the funding on that. Hydrogen, infrastructure, right? Technology is not mature yet in a country like Malaysia. You need to depend on foreign technology. You talk about biofuel. So here in Brazil, they managed to go B100 for their trucks already. Whereas in our country, we are still very much struggling even to go to B20. The last part is on the human capital. We need more engineers, we need more accountants for that, economists. That again, we have to look again our education system whether to prepare our human for that.
So ASEAN's economy is still very much dependent on fossil fuels, and how do we balance that with the need for decarbonization?
We ought to agree that we are depending very much on the fossil fuel. Coal is the most cheapest energy mix as of today. From fossil fuel to a more green energy, you need a lot of investment. We talk about CCUS, we talk about nuclear power, hydrogen power, investment, right? If ASEAN, first thing, ASEAN have already the frameworks very clear, but together in order to come in and invest, that's also a challenge that ASEAN ought to go together.